We are live with the three ways. Hello everyone. Such a long time we decided to catch up today online live with you all because we love connecting during a live session to debate what is for many still hidden. Ciao Sandy, Glenn and Sandy, two important hypnotherapists from America. Ciao Sandy!
Hello.
Sandy, so happy to see you.
Oh my God, so good. You look gorgeous.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah.
You too, as always.
Well,
I've been following you.
This is post-hot yoga. The post-hot yoga glow.
Amazing that you do yoga at home. I love it.
Yeah, well, actually, I do go to the gym, but today the hot room in the gym wasn't hot. Like the heat's broken. So the teacher was like, no problem. I'll just make you work a whole lot harder so you get extra hot.
Just to feel hotter from the inside.
Yeah, it turns out I prefer the room just do the heat for me.
Glenn, how are you?
Doing amazing. Just led a big group on my 5-day meditation challenge this week. It's really
amazing. Cool. And guys, please join this beautiful workshop and of Sandy's. They are incredible. I joined once and I love them.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've had a big group. We're doing every day a little 20-minute meditation that I've been doing. So it's been good. All right, good to see you, crazy kids.
So nice to see you guys.
So Glenn, are you leading the entire time, or are you just okay?
I have a program called the 5-day meditation challenge in my HypnoVault. I decided to do it live, and so I've had a couple hundred people on, and every day we take the concept. We have kinds like, being present is day 1, letting go of the past is day 2, releasing the need to see the future is day 3, acceptance was today. Tomorrow we put it all together. Then Saturday I kind of do a question and answers and talk about products kind of thing. So it's really been nice to have people joining every day and just doing a short meditation. As you both know, meditation doesn't have to be a big giant process of lighting candles, putting music on. You don't have to make the room meditate. We can meditate.
We have a friend, it's called Mata. I didn't want to interrupt Glenn, of course, but because I was scared for him to leave. Okay. And he is great. He's very open and he always shares what's happening within him. Hello, Mata.
I see a light. You might have a bad...
Is that all we are anyway, though?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, please don't connect, Mata, if you have connection issues. Thank you. Okay.
Teaching meditation, easy meditation can be, and how powerful it can be without using any fancy techniques. Of course, it's great, but it can be easy.
And isn't it the same thing? It's like, okay, so it's nice to go to church, but you're allowed to hold your spirituality within you, and you don't have to necessarily go somewhere to say you did it, right?
Yeah, you can pray at home.
Yeah.
And that's effective. That's a good analogy. All right, so
and,
it's been a little while.
Glenino, with praying, what do we mean? To be always hopeful of what has to come, or to be present and embracing what we feel at the moment for you all?
For prayer?
Yeah.
Ooh. I think I can't define that in just one particular way. For me, at least, it's sometimes it can be like, sometimes prayer for me is like asking God to be a lottery machine, which isn't the right, give me this, I want this, make this happen, So it's like, making the universe your lottery machine is one. Sometimes I do that, but other times it's the exact opposite of trying to release my need to have everything the way I want it and to just turn it over to a higher power. Sometimes prayer for me is just turning it over and letting it go and realizing this is bigger than me and it's not my job to control it and do it on life's terms. You know, that's, to me, maybe the most important part of prayer is turning it over.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What do you
For
think?
you, Sandina?
So I have a very simple definition. I would simply say that prayer is asking and meditation is listening. But Glenn, I think you said something over and above that was better, because I'm not a religious person. I'm not even a Christian. So the word prayer is like weird. Like every time I hear it, it's like a weird word to me, you know, it's like the people who don't like me. So when you talk about giving over control, I'm fully on board with that. I never coupled that with prayer. I think people pray wrong, right? But if they're praying right, then that is what they're doing. They are giving up control. And if we can remove the religious from that, we can live such better lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She,
So,
comment just said prayer is not asking, and I agree with that. I mean, true prayer should be, I believe, releasing, turning it over, and just, you know, awareness isn't the right word, but I feel like trying to connect to something greater than us, to our higher power, is what it should be, the intention, at least for me and my thought.
Why did I think you were atheist?
What? No
No?
way.
Oh, I don't know why. Maybe you're just vegetarian. Like, I know
I about, no, my gosh, no, nothing about me is atheist. What?
Oh my God. Francesca, Glenn and I finally, since we all three were together, Glenn and I met in person for the
I know. I remember this meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, did we call you drunk? Or I think we just made a video drunk and sent it to you.
I watched the video. You sent it in the group.
Yeah.
I love it. Very emotional, I have to say.
And he was drunk and she made a video.
Oh yeah, it was me. because I'm the non-praying one here. But actually, can we jump right into today's topic from that, because it's a perfect transition. So you talk about handing over control. I want you guys to tell me what you think happened in this study, and I'm fully paraphrasing what the study did. They took like 1,000 videos of arguing couples, and we're going to break them down into what they realized were two types of couples. Very simple words to describe it. One is the ones who kind of don't want to be together. They argue a lot, and they really, they threaten divorce, and a lot of them end up getting divorced. So we'll call that the bad ones, okay? And then there are the couples who fight, who actually really do love each other, really do want to stay together. So we'll just call those the good relationships, right? So when I looked at sort of the bad fighters and then the good relationship fighters, they originally thought, well, gosh, what's the difference in this? We want to learn about better communication. What's the difference? So the first thing they thought was maybe the good fighters aren't fighting about the worst stuff. Like, they're not fighting about the big things like money. They're not fighting about the big things like how do we raise our kids or where do we live? And it turns out that was not true. They're all fighting about all exactly the same stuff. So I do have the answer for it, but I'm curious, Francesca, what do you think? What do you think is the difference between sort of the bad fighters and the good fighters?
I believe it's a matter of, are you fighting to be together, or are you finding excuses to separate each other but you're not brave enough to break the relationship? Because I have noticed along my experience or along the experiences of others that, for example, jealousy can be sometimes a reason, an invention, like you are not jealous and you invent being jealous, like you are pretentiously pretending to be jealous just because you want to separate from the person. And so this is an excuse which is not quite visible yet for many. I'm talking about, of course, couple therapy situations I've been doing, but also myself, in premise, it happened to me. And then you are jealous because you love the person so much, and because the passion is not shared yet, that you become very possessive because of this love. And then it goes away, of course, because it is a moment. But then, so anything like jealousy, misunderstandings, fighting for money, fighting for work, it is a matter of, are you trying to separate, finding this excuse, or is it because of the love shared?
Very interesting. All right, Glenn, what do you think? What are the things that differentiate bad fighters from good fighters?
I guess best way I can answer that is fighting should be the ability to express yourself without having to make the other person wrong. That is the key to communication, to express your needs, to express your wants and desires, but not make the other person wrong.
That's actually pretty close. Yeah. It's actually pretty close. So here's the answer. The answer is they all were bad communicators. They were all fighting about all the same stuff. So the difference between sort of the bad ones, the good ones is the bad ones did one thing consistently that the good ones didn't do. And the bad ones, what they did, and you know, I'm not really calling them bad. They're just really bad at bad at relationships. What they did was they tried to control the behavior of the other person. You better show up to dinner on time. You better ask me how my day was. You need to do this. You need to not do that. They tried to control. And then, of course, the other person would do that right back. And so they had a pattern of trying to control the other's behaviors, whereas the better fighters, who were still bad at all kinds of things, would control more themselves or the environment, where they would say, listen, I need to get away from you. You're crazy, and I need a minute. So even though that's not great communication, it's actually better, because they're controlling themselves. I'm not okay here, so I'm going to leave, right? And then when we come back, we can talk about it later. Or look, you know, let's get the house clean, and then when I can think straight, right? So they're trying to control themselves or the environment. There's a lot of work to be done there too. However, the big difference, the people who ended in divorce or were miserable anyway, were the ones who were trying to control the behavior of others. And people disguise it so well. People disguise it so well. Yesterday, I came home and there was a note on my neighbor's door. So I'm like, oh, great. Now they think I did it, but I didn't. And somebody just said, your dog cries all day when you're away. And that is exactly what I'm talking about the really bad communicators. It was passive aggressive. It was, you better change your behavior. They didn't say you better change your behavior. You see the point? Did you guys just see a thumbs up?
But guys, you actually said the perfect formula. So not to make the person feeling is wrong. Same time, don't control the behavior of the person, because the person automatically reacts in a way that can be defined as a pattern, not in an authentic way, because it gets defensive, it gets resentful. So, you know, not to make the person feel wrong, but actually maybe saying it, not controlling the person's behavior.
Yeah, and there are so many ways, and I'd love to hear from you how to communicate it. Just understanding that the example of your dog cries all day while you're away, there was nothing in there that said you better change your behavior. It didn't say it, but it said it. You get the point? So people are doing it all day long and maybe not even realizing they're trying to change other people's behaviors because they're backdooring the language, right? Make sense?
Yeah.
That's a great component to keep in mind. In most of my meditations that I do, there's a big tagline kind of in program, and it says, we release the need to control people, places, or things. Because we can't control people, places, or things. But in fighting, you're right, we do. It is trying to control the behavior of the other person, versus stating your needs and then deciding within your own boundaries, do I want this in my life or do I not? Because that's where our power is, you know, in that. But,
right. So if a wife says to a husband, you better not watch porn, she just said, you better turn into someone who's really good at lying to me.
Yeah.
But what is missing in couples is also a bit of adaptation, because I think if someone really wants to do something, they can find a way to do it together instead of judging each other. Because at the end of the day, any desire is personal, but any desire can be shared if there is common sense and common and shared love. So.
Right. And so I'd love to hear from you guys how we communicate in these really difficult situations. Because, Francesca, wouldn't it be so nice to communicate and actually do things together, understand each other, learn each other? But if someone really doesn't want to someone really doesn't want to go bowling, right? Are we then forcing something, right? So
Who
it's,
wouldn't want
Yeah.
So ever since I tore my shoulder, if I go bowling, sometimes I get a strike and you're like, wow, she's really good. And then on the next one, it goes right into the gutter. And you're like, what happened to you? And it's like, because my shoulders is this thing.
It makes me laugh bowling so much because sometimes the ball goes out
Through the ceiling. I can't help it. It's like a trick shoulder.
so funny. But
or are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Oh, that's your right?
Oh, yeah, because we're on Instagram. This is my right.
Okay. That's still, wow.
so in this
Okay.
case, what would you do, guys? For me, it's about finding a sharing purpose in anything you want to do together, or you separate for the moment being because everyone has his own life and passions and desires. So there is not about eliminating something unless it's truly hurtful for the person or for the couple altogether.
Now, I think there's things you learn in time. I've definitely learned this as I'm not 25 years old anymore. As you start to get some years underneath your belt, you realize like people just, they're not really doing things to us. They're just doing things because they're doing them. And when you take people's behaviors less personally, it's like nobody is perfect to be in a relationship with. Everybody has ways they do things that you're not going to agree with. There's going to be things that are just, okay, I got to accept that. I wouldn't do it that way, but they're doing it that way. Does it really affect me? No. So then shut up. My sister came. She's like, a lot of the times my husband and I are driving and I'm thinking, why did he turn down this road? It'd be much quicker if he went this way. But then in her mind, then
Right.
she goes, if it takes an extra minute and this is the way he wants to drive home, why do I care? And why do I want to say something to upset him for no reason? We're going to be home a minute later so we can have a happy drive, or I can be a bitch and open my mouth and say, you should have turned this way. Why would you drive this way? You always drive this way.
Well, because sometimes, I understand, but sometimes we need reactions to make it a bit more fiery, and that's when energies come into play. Understanding that it's...
No! Wrong!
Otherwise it's always the same. It's so boring.
I love you guys so much. I love you both so much. Oh
because we are the opposite, Glenn and I.
Glenn, wait, you're talking about your sister, right?
Yeah,
This is your sister? So it's as if she has only two options: say it and piss him off, which does no good, or just, stop myself from saying it. Well, if those were the only two options, then stopping herself from saying it is probably good, unless she wants to have hot Francesca sex later. But you followed that. But those aren't the only two options. If I were counseling your sister, what I would say is, let's look at what is your need to say, because even though you're not saying it, you still want to. So that's really what's going on. So it's still a negative emotion for you. So shutting your mouth is, while it's better than, saying something, it's still for you no good. And what is it in you that we need to look at that makes you have these thoughts in the first place? Because someone else wouldn't care that they wouldn't even think about him making that turn. Someone else might say, wow, you made that turn. I never see this street. I love this street. So what's going on with her closed mouth is still negative emotion. And that's what I'd want to work on.
Well,
exactly. The negative emotion is too, I totally agree.
Or you become aware of it and you let it go like she does. You become aware of it.
That's step one, but it'll never permanently fix the problem because she's aware of something negative. She's aware of a judgment. She's aware that she doesn't like it. That's the real issue.
But we all do that. All of us do that with people in our lives. You're stinky sponges. Remember that?
Yeah, and then we broke up. Exactly. We broke up and moved out.
So we all have just the nature that we're different people. We're going to rub each other in the right way, and we're going to rub each other in the wrong way.
two separate parallel conversations going on, because one of the conversations is about behavioral shift and the other one is about emotions. And if as a step one, we shift a behavior just to clear the slate, just to calm everything down, I agree. Don't say anything. But if you leave it there for yourself, then you've not changed. And the only way we can make that change is when we look at the emotions. And so that's the work I would do with her.
Yeah, but sometimes there's not work that needs to be done. It's holding the awareness. That's the work. Holding the awareness that we are different. We're going to do things differently. And I might have a more efficient way of thinking about a situation or reacting to a situation or handling something than somebody else does. But knowing that, hey, I wouldn't do it that way, but if you do, that's fine. I don't have to say anything.
The awareness of the situation, but what is it in you that's bringing up negative emotion? I'll give you an example. I had a client yesterday who was so excited to report to me that this whole toxic group that she'd sort of been a part of for a very long time, she finally just removed herself completely, and instantly she was sleeping better. Isn't that amazing? She removes this level of toxicity in her life. She didn't have to not do blue screens before bed, and she didn't have to follow any sleep protocol. She literally removed toxicity from her life. Instantly she slept better by doing no work on sleep, right? And then over a few weeks, that same storyline of people betraying her, right, all the thing that was making that group toxic in the first place, as she moved on, she found it somewhere else. And I said, well, the good step you did was the behavior change of moving away from them, right? Removing them. But unless or until you now do the emotional work on you, you're going to find it again because the pattern is in you.
Yes, it's the energy that you attract because you are transmitting it and it comes back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, energy is emotions. That's why we are full of emotions. So to understand we have different emotions, emotional reactions can help to have acceptance, like Glenn said, and also to like each other more for what we are, without this constant need for changing the person. Because if you don't like the person for how she is, why would you date this person if you constantly have to change the behavior?
Yeah. But Glenn, what you were saying about becoming aware, I really love that. So I don't want to lose that very valuable piece that you brought to the table about awareness. Tell me what you would say in this situation. My 4-year-old, we ordered burgers and then we had to wait for them. Usually I order ahead of time, but whatever. So I didn't. So we had to wait for the burgers, and it was a long, a lot of people ordering. And we're sitting outside. It was a nice day. And my 4-year-old's just like, her feet don't touch the ground. So she's like kicking her legs up in the air, just swinging her legs on the chair, like a foot off the ground. And she says, Sandy, mommy, I just thought about something. I said, what? She said, I think it's hard to wait. And I thought, what a profound experience that she's having right now. She's really becoming aware of her emotions, and she was able to express. She said it's hard to wait. So Glenn, if your approach, and I love it, is awareness, what would your advice be to that person? It's hard to wait.
I'd say it absolutely is hard to wait. And then with a 4-year-old, I'd play a game. I'd be like, all right, let's imagine what that burger would taste like. How big could you make it? And I just start playing a game with her to pass the time until it came, Or if it was, because that's a very non-4-year-old way to say it.
Right.
But also,
I agree.
That's not the tip.
Sorry,
That's So yeah, I would have fun with it. I would just have fun with it.
Isn't it great to flip it though? Now that you just said that out loud, if a typical 4-year-old would say, I want it now, instead of us reacting negatively to their negative reaction, if we then said what my 4-year-old, as the adults talking to the 4-year-old, I want it now, as the adult, we can say, it's really hard to wait, isn't it? Right? Really,
but also different kind of waitings, guys. You wait in a way, but you can also wait in another way. Don't wait for life to come, wait for answers to come. In the meantime, you find your own way of acting for yourself. We don't wait doing nothing. That's a torture.
And that's the real answer. And that's what Glenn was saying. He's like, okay, it's hard to wait. Let's play a game. How many adults say to themselves, right now I'm becoming aware that my anxiety level is rising.
Yeah.
And these are my choices. Adults aren't doing that for themselves, right?
Yeah.
For the child, they have the parent there saying, then let's play a game. I wish the parents, the grown-ups, could say, I'm feeling levels of anxiety. I'd like some self-soothing. What are my choices?
Yes, also avoidance is not the case. So to bring the child, in this case, into the moment of the waiting, why he needs to wait, is better than putting him into play maybe immediately. So there is no avoidance and there is more presence.
Yeah.
Depends.
I don't think a lot of I think pattern interrupts are so much more effective than trying to analyze behavior sometimes.
I love
You know,
that. Move on. Do it. Just do it. Yeah.
especially like with kids or even with ourselves when it's like when we're not feeling ourselves or we're pissed off or something just isn't right, breaking that pattern instead of having to just analyze it to death. Like, why am I feeling this way? Why is this happening? It's like, no, just break the pattern and let's move to something more positive. That can be such a better approach to life, especially with kids, you know? And even in our own relationships. It's like, do you really like, when like a parent says to their kid, you know, we need to have a conversation about this. We need to talk. The first thing it's like, ew, get away. Just talk about it. No.
Because the talking about it too often is leading to somebody trying to control someone else's behavior. That's why.
Yeah,
you know,
that's why. That's the worst we can do, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and people disguise it so well.
But to make people visualize their own behavior, I will never shut up if I care, obviously, or if someone is asking, you know, to me personally about what I see of this exact behavior, always to make it visualize. So maybe not criticizing it, but visualization is key because people are very unconscious often. So
yeah, it's a really good quote. Fighting is really trying to control somebody else's behavior.
Control, no, but to make visualize is important, in my opinion.
No,
and again, as long as it's their choice, because fear is a perceived lack of freedom. Listen to what I'm saying, because it's exactly what this conversation is about. Fear, which is the worst emotion, fear is a perceived lack of freedom. Okay, so what's freedom? Freedom is choice. So I'm only afraid because I think I can't choose for me because you're going to choose for me. So we want to be able to make our own choice. I'll say it differently. The opposite of anxiety is options. So I just said the same thing. The opposite of anxiety and fear are the same thing. The opposite of anxiety is options. When we have options, we're no longer anxious. When we have freedom to choose, we're no longer in fear. So it's always about who gets to choose for me or you. So when we're in a relationship with someone we love the most and we try to control their behavior, we're literally removing their freedom, which gives them instant fear, puts them into fight or flight, and they don't have access to logical thinking and they don't remember they have choice.
I agree with you, Sandy, but this is from a mature behavior, because if someone is immature, the more choices she has, the worse it is, because there is no experience. So all these choices, they make it only more superficial, because you know, the approach to things, they make it very superficial, because you know, they jump into a place to another without having the consciousness and the maturity to know what they actually want. So I agree with you, but from a mature aspect of a human being.
And if the one communicating with them points out their immaturity, they're making it worse, not better. And if they try to force them into maturity, I'm forcing you into making different decisions, I'm forcing you into looking at your life, that's assertion, that's controlling someone's behavior. The only thing we can do as better communicators, because people watching this want to become better communicators, is this one thing, this is the answer, is to hold a safe space, because immature is really insecure, is to hold a safe, insecure, not secure, safe space for the other person. When we hold a safe space for the other person, they will align with their wisest self and they won't be immature at any age.
Well, but you really grow into the authentic, wild side of life. So we need both, in my opinion.
Oh, well, like, this is coming from Hi, I was drunk with Glenn and I sent you a video. I hope everyone in their 50s becomes the most immature they've ever been. Exactly. And still know how to communicate authentically. right? So they are different things.
Yeah, people living in the comfort zone forever, we know it's not the same as safety. They don't really know about life at all. So it's important to jump into the wilderness of life, emotions,
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
So tell me, Francesca, last in a long time.
Yeah.
But what do you think over these last few months of your life? What has been maybe your best for yourself, for you over the last few months? Like what's one of your takeaways from your last few months of doing this work and doing your life?
Thank you for this question. I love it, Lenino. Allora, my personal experience taught me along these last months that the more we lose control, the better it is only long term, not in the moment. I know, I'm teasing, okay? No, to communicate better for sure, but also to never regret what we say if it comes from the heart. So it's important to communicate better, as always, as Glenn always reminds us. But most of all, never regret when you speak with your heart. So losing control is one thing, which can be very damaging. But when you speak from your heart, you never regret. So I'm saying to people, if you speak from your heart and you are feeling you're losing control and you are going over the limit, don't feel guilty, just be conscious of what you feel. And so from this consciousness, you will communicate better. From a community perspective, what I learned, dear Dream Team, is that as soon as you are blindfolded and you are wearing this mask, which is metaphorical, shame goes away and your inner self takes shape. It's incredible. These are the two things that I wanted to share.
Nice. It's funny, Francesca. I love it.
I know what you're thinking.
Okay.
Ah.
I do get it. And there is something authentic about that, you know. And when it is authentic, it is okay.
Well, you call it out of control, but everything we're talking about is giving up control. So congratulations, Francesca.
Exactly.
Abandon and authenticity is what we're going for, right?
We agree, amores.
You just don't want to spin out. Although now that I've only met Glenn in person and not you yet, Francesca, we need to get together and take a drunk video and send it to Glenn, because I think that one.
For sure. I want to see you guys whenever you want. First we meet, we share something together, and then we can, do anything else.
Oh my God.
So, Miss C, what's yours?
In the months, I'll tell you something that happened recently, because so Jen and I split up because of the stinky sponges.
Yes.
My son and I are now in a new apartment. Jen and I are fine. She came over and legit was like, I want to buy you something for your new apartment. I want to get you something you really need. And then she goes in the kitchen. She goes, oh my God, you need sponges. I swear to God. And I said, no. I have this plastic scrubby thing. That's it. No sponges. They smell. I don't know why people use sponges. It's like a germ factor. Oh, so, but legit, she was like, I think you need sponges. So, all right, here is I think one of my personal biggest things for growth. It was not even that long ago. It was like maybe a week or two ago. I lost it completely. First of all I did was drink coffee all day, which is a bad idea. And then, and I got like letters from the IRS over the last couple months, like personal ones and like under my LLC and then my other business and then my I'm like, how do I have all these? It's just like all like different. So the IRS and like all this stuff, and I'm losing it. And so I tipped over the edge, and now I have my own bedroom. I have my own bed. It is I've got a private terrace off of my bed.
Amazing.
It's the greatest New York City experience except for when you're alone and you're losing it, right? So I was over my edge, and so now I'm on the phone with Jen. I'm like, Jen, I don't even know what to do anymore, because it's like, maybe this is where I lost it. I said, I'm leaving the city. I'm gonna leave the city. I'm gonna leave the city, and I'm gonna go live in the woods. But I can't go live in the woods because the woods has bugs. The woods have bugs. There are bugs and bears. I can't even go to the woods, the free woods, because the woods have bugs and bears. So now I have to live in New York City because I can't live in the suburbs, because I rather die than live in the suburbs. So now I'm in the city, and do you know that you have to pay $5,000 to a broker before you even get to then put $20,000 down on a new apartment? Like, you can't get to an apartment without paying someone you don't know $5,000 for absolutely no reason. These are called brokers, okay? So I said, so this is what life has come to: bears or brokers, bears or brokers. And I'm losing my mind. I'm like, bears and brokers, it's all it is, and I'm very hot because I'm going through menopause. So bears and brokers, right? So I said, so then we're laughing, and I said, okay. All right, I need to give myself advice that I would give someone else. And here's what I really want to share, because it's very profound, and it was like instant change in that moment. When we're in a negative emotion, which I was, and it was out of control, the electromagnetic field around the heart actually shrinks. It's measurable scientifically. And when we stop trying to find a solution to the IRS, to the bears, to the brokers, to all the things, right? When we stop trying to find a solution and know that there is a solution that exists, but when our electromagnetic field has shrunk so much, we legit just can't access what we know exists. If you can let it go, and that's what Glenn's saying, pattern change and, pattern disrupt instead of trying to find a solution, right? Let it go in that moment, knowing one thing: when we bask in a positive emotion, literally our frequency is higher. There's more space between our atoms, right? Because what's the opposite of the space is dense. Okay, so when you just bask in anything at all that feels better and just feels better, imagine your heart is the sun, and then as your electromagnetic field expands, it's like the rays of the sun. They're even out of their jail of your rib cage, right? The rays expand. Your arms are now the extension of this, right? So think of angels' wings. I think that's where they got that imagery, right? Your heart expands so much. Your arms are now an extension of your healing heart. And so now you've got these glowing angel's wings that expand out into what they call the quantum field, which is also scientifically known and measured. And just pretend for a moment that you already have created your best future. And it's already been done. If there's a problem, the solution has already been done. It lives in the quantum field where you've created your best future. Just pretend this for a moment. So when you expand that light, it literally just shines on what's already there, and that's when it comes into your life. By letting go, abandon authenticity, letting go, the light glows, and it just shines a light on what it is you've already created. And good news, there's nothing less than your best future. It's only your best future, and it's how much of it are you letting in. And that's exactly what I had to do. So anyway, I did this meditation for myself. Next day I woke up, and the answer to everything I needed was in my email. I heard back from my accountant, we fixed this, and I heard back from my team who's building my app, we fixed the thing you want. I've been working for weeks on trying to fix this stuff, couldn't get, right? So you just let go, and it just happens every time. So that, thank you for asking, you guys, was one of my most profound moments, because I literally got to do the work that I do for other people because I hit my rock bottom, and I just let go, and then things just started to get fixed. It just does.
Yeah. That's
just does.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really.
All right. That was really good from both of you.
And Glenn, you.
Also, Glenn, and you?
Yeah. My God. I got so many.
Come on.
I think this cycle in my life, it is about any time you make a decision to expand, to grow. It's like specifically with my own online community, with what I'm doing with the PR company. I was in Chicago last weekend. I was in Nashville the weekend before. I have so many things on the books that are kind of happening.
Amazing.
When you do that, though, it's like there's a lot of moving parts, and learning to trust that I don't know how it all is going to come together. I don't know how it's all going to work out, and I don't have to. Just to try to be in the present moment. You know, anybody that's an entrepreneur, you know that. You know, being an entrepreneur is the only business where the only guarantee is that you're going to spend money. That's the that's the only guarantee.
After energy investing, let's put it this way.
Yeah, but that's the only guarantee. So, and when you reach a certain point, it's like, okay, I could stop and I have enough for everything I need. Let's get rid of this, let's get rid of this, let's get rid of this, and we're good. But that's a really small way to think. It's like, well, if I got here, let's go here. And then let's expand, let's bring more people in. But there's that space in between those two places where, you know, the stars aren't really showing and the sun's not really shining because you are in the land of the unknown. And being okay in the land of the unknown and releasing the need to always second guess, like, what am I doing? Is this the right thing? Well, this isn't happening as quick as I want. Well, this is going good. What about this? There's a constant struggle that happens in the entrepreneurial mind when you're in a growth phase. And learning to be okay and realize that when you're in that place, you still got to practice self-care. Still got to take care of yourself. You can't just go 24/7 like a machine and put self-care out the window. And people work really well for other people. It's like when you have a boss giving you everything you have to do, you know, people do it. Or if they're asked to stay later at work, they do it. But when it's for you, it's a whole different ballgame, you know? So for me, it's been this time is I've really jumped into a growth cycle to where I'm not sure where it's going, how it's all going to come together. So there's a lot of I'm like a juggling person. There's so many things in the air and they're all good. And anybody from the outside would be like, oh my God, that's incredible. I can't believe all this stuff. But they're not the person that's keeping it all afloat. You know, they're not steering the ship. So that's all. That's kind of my phase in life right now. And it's just learning to trust that if I'm doing this, or if I've been called to do this, there's a reason. You know, and I think that's true for all of us. Like, Sandy, you were called to not go back to try to create. You were called to not go back and try to recreate your DJ personality, right? Your online, your radio personality like you did in the past. Instead, you moved into this work. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go back to that world, right? And try to become once what you were in that area. But that's not where you were called. You're still connected to it, but that's not where you were called. And then Francesca, all the things you've done, from being a chef to, you know, wanting to do like podcast personality stuff to putting on live events, you're always kind of going through different cycles.
We
things that interest you.
As you being a great musician, now you're an amazing coach. So it's all about your sensitivity expanding into what's more, not into what's less. Because what is less? There is no less. There is only transformation. Beautiful point to me.
I like that. Expanding into what's more, not what's less. That's really good.
And that's the same thing in communication, but it's for yourself. It's holding a safe space where you are called is just, it's guiding you rather than asserting and pushing like so many motivational speakers talk about. You want it, go bust it down and break it down, you know, and go get it. And my son, who I'm going to say, unfortunately, is sometimes inspired by the Andrew Tates of the world. He's 13 now, and I think Andrew Tate clearly has a lot of success, but there's also a lot of stuff that I don't buy into. And, you know, so Bodhi's like, you know, well, what's that?
In my opinion, the Andrew Tates of the world, they're playing a role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're seeing an actor on a screen saying things to be controversial like an actor would. You know, I don't even think he says what he says because, one, you expect him to say that.
Yeah.
The same way Howell plays a character of being a rude prick.
Yeah.
So then you want his, you know, it's...
Yeah.
And he's what I've seen, he's not a rude prick at all. But he plays that character You know, the same way Andrew Tate plays his character to polarize you so you want his approval.
Right.
But go on.
Right. Yeah. So, but
If I can share my
way.
secret, guys, I kind of played the act at the beginning. When I was a chef, I wasn't a chef. I invented that I was a chef already. So I went into this restaurant. I hope they will never listen to this. And I said, I am a chef already. I said, okay. So because, but no, because if you don't jump, of course it works if it's an act upon true love. So, you know, I love food, I love cooking. You can't pretend to be a chef if you don't have any idea and it's not in your heart. So what I say is play the act upon true love, not for the act itself.
Right, dress for the part you want. Yeah.
Just for what you believe in.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So about the Andrew Tate thing, judge him irrelevant. The point is, Bodhi says, you know, these guys have all the money and they have all the girls and they have all the cars and that's the life that I want. So you have to work hard, beat them all up to get there. And I said, hold on a second. I said, you're putting the wrong equation together. You're saying if A then B then, you know, equals C. I said, what if you can just look at his success and say he got his success because his desire is so strong, and that push him down, knock him down might even be his resistance to his own level of happiness, right? It's the same idea as Dr. Sarno talks about this in his back pain book. He says what happens is people have this incredible back pain and they go, you know, they're in their 40s and they go to the doctor and the doctor does the x-ray and they say, look at that, you have a bulging disc. We must operate. And so the 40-something-year-old guy goes home. He's like, well, it's pretty good news, actually, because now I know what's causing my back pain. So now I'm going to get the back surgery because it's right here. You could see it on the x-ray. Science doesn't lie. Wait a minute. Almost everyone has a bulging disc by the time they're in their 20s. So yes, you do have a bulging disc, but is that the cause of the problem? Because then they find so often they have more problems after the surgery because that wasn't what was causing the problem. The problem, of course, is caused emotionally. But when you look at these successful guys who work really hard to get there, they say, see, hard work gets you there. And I say, big desire gets you there. You're giving credit to hard work, and that's what's going to always hold you back from your own happiness. Did that make sense? You're giving credit to the wrong thing. Giving credit to the hard work. It's not the hard
it's
work.
Not the hard work.
Desire.
Yes.
Big desire.
It's the presence you're giving to what you're giving, believing.
Yes.
Yes. A beautiful point.
Yes.
No, really, it's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's both. You have to have.
Yes. Because see, it can be both too. See.
Big work and big
it's action. It's action, but it's inspired action. So what I want people to get away from is doing action to cover up for an emotion, to make up for an emotion, to make up for a state of mind. I want to know that when you take action, it's because you're being pulled to do it as opposed to you're pushing to get it or pulling, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that too. You know, pulling versus pushing. Get that.
Because
But yes, very good. So right.
Sometimes we interrupt Glenino. I'm so sorry, Glenino. But can I say the last thing? Hard work, it's bad when you put all the energy outside into the work itself because you want to achieve, and the energy goes outside and then it gets lost and you feel drained. So hard work only works when it's inspired, as Sandy says, but also when it's internal. When you put this energy back and the hard work, it's you. You become you, not what you give out, but what you become.
Yes, authenticity is bulletproof. Yes. Before we go, can I read?
I have to say this because people are so giving so much energy into the outside work. Where is going this work? I mean,
yeah. Hold on. Can I read this before we go? It's one sentence. So my Bodhi, who's now 13, he's talking about David Goggins, I think he was like a Navy SEAL. He's like used to be very, very heavy and out of shape. And then at like near 40 years old, he trained and became a Navy SEAL. And so David Goggins is like handsome, well-built guy who works very hard. So Bodhi says, Mom, David Goggins keeps his weights up in resting position. So he keeps working even at rest. So I'm going to stand while we wait for the Apple genius to come fix my phone. 10 minutes later, Mom, you know why I chose to sit down? Because when I die, God is not going to ask me how much I was like David Goggins. He's going to ask me how much I was like Bodie Ames. I can just get inspiration by others and take what I want and bodify it. So I wrote that down.
Who is God? Question of the day.
You want to start the show over with that one? It's Glenn. The answer is it's Glenn. It's Glenn.
Glennino is like a god, esatto. Also calmness and peace, but also much more.
Calm is good. Calm energy. Non-fight or flight. That's a beautiful place to be.
God is a girl bird.
God is the birth. The birth is God. Then it becomes consciousness. That's for me what it is.
God is chocolate.
Yeah. All right.
God is coffee.
Yeah. All right, you crazy. It was fun today.
Well,
this was very
I love you guys.
Flies away as always.
All right, so
really good.
Put the cyber world, let it live, let it do what it does until the next one, which will just randomly pop on from time to time and do that.
Yeah, for sure. We will do magical things together, guys. I feel it somehow it's gonna happen, but also whenever we find it useful and deep, as we don't want to be repetitive, even though we always have something to say, we will catch up live. Also to, if someone wants to join us live and is brave enough.
Take us out, Francesca, with your words of wisdom. And all of it.
I would say, since you said wisdom, Glennino would say, how can you be wise if you've never been naughty? Ta-da!
Words of wisdom. There you go.
Ta-da!
Enough said. Enough said. All right.
I love you guys. This was so much fun.